Want to find out what the best build for the BTSU exotic gloves is? Well, in today's video, I'm going to tell you and introduce you guys to my turret chaos build. Esava, this is LaserBolt. Today we're going to be taking a look at the best BTSU build with the turret, and this build is known as the Chaos build. That's the name I gave it because it's a complete chaos not only in PvP, but also in PvE. If you guys have seen my previous build videos, I know you guys love my brand new format at the way I present the builds. So that's what we're going to be continue using and making sure you guys understand how build works, the synergy, and why I consider it to be the best build. I want to give you the best build so you guys can know exactly what pieces you need to get to make sure that you have the best build out of anybody else in the internet. Now, before we get started with the build, I do want to remind you guys about our monthly giveaway. We're giving away a free copy of Shakiro for the console of your choice. To enter, super easy, guys. All you have to do is click the link down below where it says Join Bolt Nation, and you will be automatically entered. Good luck to everyone that's participating. All right, so now let's talk about this build and why this build is a complete monster in both PvP and PvE. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, when we always start with builds, the way we begin is we take a piece of item that we feel has really good synergy, and then we expand on that and put pieces together to make sure that that build fits correctly. In today's case, we're going to be taking a look at the BTSU gloves. Now, there are multiple builds for these gloves that I will have for you guys. This one is particularly only focusing on turrets, and then we'll have another one with explosive builds. We'll have another one with firefight builds. So if you guys want to make sure you get the best build for the skill that you guys love, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you guys can get notified when those videos get uploaded. So the BTS exotic gloves come with 3 different talents. It comes with the elemental gadgetry, energy infusion, and charge proxy. Now, the main talent that we want to make sure that we are focusing on and building upon is energy infusion. What energy infusion does is this: whenever you apply a status effect, your gloves become infused with that for 60 seconds. While infused, you gain a plus 10 skill damage, plus 10 skill healing and repair, and plus 10 skill duration for each utility on your gear. Now, keep that in mind. The main thing I want you guys to understand here is that the more you have on yellow, or on the yellow stats, the more skill duration you'll have per each utility. So you'll get a plus 10 skill damage, plus 10 skill healing and repair and duration, and you have to multiply that for each utility that you have on your gear. So you want to make sure that whenever you're making a build for this, you want to make sure you're always focusing on the attributes that you have more yellow than anything else on your build. So just do keep that in mind, because we want to make sure that this talent that we're using is actually being done effectively. All right, so now that we know the main talent we're going to be working with, let's talk about the attributes and what numbers we have to hit for these attributes. How many offensive, how many defensive, how many utility do we need to have? Well, the only one that we kind of want to worry about is the utility one. We want to make sure that the utility one is 7 or higher. You want to make sure you prioritize that. Now, granted, if you could get it higher than 7, that is 100 times better. So if you could get this up to 17, 18, 12, 13, whatever you could get it up to, that is what you want to prioritize. You want to make sure that your yellow is at least 7, but if you can get it higher, that is what you want to shoot for. Now, one of the downsides of stacking too many yellows is the fact that you're going to be either losing a lot of red or a lot of blue. It's going to be up to you to decide which route you want to go with. For me personally, I like to have a high yellow, which is a 7 or higher, a high blue, and I don't mind on having a low red. The reason why I don't mind having a low red is because most of the work and the heavy lifting for this build is going to be done by the turret. I'm not going to be shooting my AR that much, but when I do, I wanted to do some damage, and I want to make sure that I'm also being able to proc the talent that we're going to be using. So the main priority here is you want to make sure that your build is completely balanced out. So my ideal build for you guys would be a 3, a 4, and a 10. 3, 4, and a 10. That would be the ideal setup. Now, these are all have wiggle room. You could definitely stack up more defense. You could definitely stack up more offense. But your number one priority should be having as much utility as you possibly can so we can take advantage of the talent we have with the gloves. Well, now that we have that down, we know which talent we're using. We know the attributes we need to be hitting. Let's talk about the type of weapons we're going to be using. There are 2 particular talents that I want you guys to definitely make sure you guys have. And you could technically run this with an AR or a LMG, but you got to pick one or the other because you're going to want to make sure you're tapping into the talents correctly. For this case in particular, I went with an AR, and the reason we went with an AR is because we want to make sure we're using the spike talent. Basically, what the spike talent does, it says headshot kills grants 35 skill damage for 20 seconds. You want to make sure that you're proccing this while your turret is shooting, because you want to make sure that while you have your turret in that 60-second cooldown, you want to make sure that it's outputting as much damage as you can, and you're giving it an additional 35 damage if you're also getting headshots with your AR. Remember, your AR won't be hitting that hard since your offenses are going to be a little bit low, but with the turret shooting and with you shooting headshots, you guys should be good to go. Now, you definitely, if you're going with an AR, you definitely go with a custom P416 or just a P416 in general. That is the best gun to pick. The second talent I want you to transfer into your AR, if you don't have one already, is Recharge. That's going to be your kind of holster talent for your AR. And it says, while equipped, skills deployed at full armor have a 25 duration charge and ammo. So basically, if you haven't lost any health, your skills will have 25 more duration and charge, and it will also give you more ammo. So definitely Recharge is a really good talent to have. So make sure that when you're picking up your 416, you have Spike and you have Recharge for this particular build. Now for our second weapon, we're going to go with an exotic, and the reason we're going with the exotic, we're going with the Nemesis. The reason we're doing that is because we want to tap into that holster talent, which is Preparation. It says while holstered, gain plus 25 headshot damage when scoped with your current weapon. Remember, we're using the Spike talent. The Spike talent will require us to get headshots, and what better way to actually get more headshots if we have an additional 25% headshot damage from our Nemesis. So make sure you guys use this as your exotic weapon. The last thing you're going to need, of course, is a sidearm, and the only reason you want a sidearm is because you want to make sure you get the holster talent, and the talent we're going to be looking at is called In Rhythm. While equipped, enemy kills have a 5% chance to refresh active skill cooldowns can occur once every 60 seconds. You're definitely going to want to have this one because the cooldown reduction of your bolt skills is going to be very beneficial to you, so you guys can use them more often. All right, so now that we got the weapons out of the way, let's talk about gear. We're going to start off with, of course, the mask, and the mask, where I want you guys to pick a mask that is a Providence defense mask. The reason why you want to go ahead and pick this one is because we want to tap into the first attribute, which gives us a plus 10% skill power. This is going to be very beneficial for us because what this is going to allow us to do is to build up our skill power. Now, in addition to that, there are 2 things you want to make sure this mask has. You want to make sure that this one has 1 yellow and 1 red. The reason is because we want to make sure that this mask has the talent Damage to Elite. Now, this comes with a caveat because this is only going to be if you are playing PvE. This is the only reason we want to make sure that our mask has Damage to Elite, is because the only way we're going to be able to get Damage to Elite are from our mask. So if we have a mask with a high Damage to Elite, let's say you have a mask with 40 Damage to Elite, we want to make sure we apply the talent hard hitting so we could get a total of 50 damage to Elite. That is all the damage of Elite we're going to have, and it's going to be very important because it's going to allow this build to do high level content. Now, if you're one of the lucky ones and have a God Roll mask with 55 damage to Elite and you get that plus 10 hard hitting, you're going to have a total of 65 damage to Elite. That's going to be very important because it's going to help you out clear out big yellow bars with your turret. Now, if you're running this and you're not running this for PvE, but you're running this for PvP, you're going to want to make sure that the mask is 2 yellows. So 1 yellow and another yellow. And you're going to want to make sure you switch the talent from hard hitting. You want to make sure that that talent is called Empowered. Basically, this is going to give you an additional 10% skill power. So that's the only difference. If you do PvP, you want to go hard hitting with 1 yellow, 1 red. If you do PvE, you want to go empowered with 2 yellows. All right, so now that we got the mask out of the way, we're going to take a look at the backpack. And for the backpack, we want to make sure that it's a PETROV defensive group. We want to make sure that this is a PETROV because we want to be tapping to the talent. Not to the 10% LMG damage, but we want to make sure we're tapping into the plus 15% turret skill power. That's the main reason we're using that PETROV. So we're going to need technically 2 PETROV defensive groups, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly what the other PETROV group is going to be. But this one in particular, you just want to make sure you're looking at something that gives you enough yellows, and you want to make sure that maybe if you could get 2 yellows, 1 red, 1 blue, that would be ideal. If you can't get that, you at least want to have 3 yellows, 1 blue. But the main thing you want to focus in here outside of the yellows is you want to make sure that you have this following talent. You're going to want to make sure you have a talent called Tech Support. It says kills by active skills grant a plus 25 skill damage for 10 seconds. This is a requirement for this build. You want to make sure that you have this talent. As your secondary talent, you could either go with the following. You could go with Vital, which gives you a plus 20 health. But if you had a chance to pick between Vital and Capacitive, you want to make sure you go with Capacitive. Basically, what Capacitive is going to do is going to give you a plus 20% skill duration. That would be the ideal setup. The ideal setup will be Capacitive and Tech Support. If you don't have Capacitive, you could go with Tech Support or Vital, and you guys should be good to go. The only priority talent here is Tech Support. So now on to the chest piece. Now for the chest piece, it's once again, it's going to be a PETROV, and this is going to allow us to tap into that plus 15 turret skill power that we wanted. So we got the PETROV from the backpack, PETROV from the chest piece, and the main priority here is we want to make sure that the PETROV we get allows us to have 2 yellows. Now we could either get the 2 yellows, one with 1 attribute and the other one as part of a gear mod, but our main priority when looking for a chest piece is 1, make sure it's PETROV, number 2, that we have 2 yellows. As far as the talent is concerned, there's no really particular talent because all the good talents have different requirements that we're not being able to use with this skill. But one I would like to recommend, and the one that I always love using, is definitely Vital, because it's going to give you that plus 20% health. And who doesn't want more health, especially with this build that we're not going to have a really high blue stat. As far as the gloves, of course, we're skipping that because those are the BTSU. Now on to the holster. Now for the holster, we're going to want to make sure we have one with the Fenris group. The reason why we want a Fenris group is because we want to tap into that 10% assault rifle damage. Of course, remember guys, we are going to be using an assault rifle with this build, so we want to make sure that we at least get 10%. The main priority here, guys, is to make sure that the holster drops with 2 yellows, skill cooldown reduction, or skill power. Now, as far as the talent for the holster, what I would like to recommend is Precise. That's going to give you a plus 15% headshot damage. Remember, we want to make sure we have the headshot damage because we want the synergy with Spike to work. So we want to make sure we're always getting those headshots, and the more damage we have to the head, the more likelihood we'll be able to get those headshot damage. Now, granted, if you have a very low mask that doesn't have really high damage to elites, you could always put hard hitting here to compensate for that damage to elites, since you're going to be doing high level content with this build. Now on to the last part of the build, which is our knee pads. I do want to remind you guys though, after I'm done with the knee pads, make sure you guys pay attention to the rest of the video because I'm going to explain a couple things after that. Now for the knee pads, this is actually a requirement because you want to make sure that with your knee pads, you get this talent. You want to make sure that whatever brand you are using for knee pads, you're able to run the calculated talent. The calculated talent is a priority for this build and one that I highly recommend you guys definitely consider. Basically, what calculated does is says kills from cover reduce skill cooldowns by 20%. This game is built on cover and getting kills from cover. It's going to allow you to get your skills back by 20%. This is definitely a high priority, guys, because you want to make sure you're able to get your skills back as quickly as you possibly can. So that is the main priority when it comes to knee pads. It could be any brand set, just as long as you're able to roll calculated. Now, the brand set I would recommend is China Light Industry. The reason why is that because that gives you a plus 10 explosive damage, and you're technically going to be doing a lot of exploding in the game, so you definitely might as well get that 10% explosive damage. But you could go with any brand set as long as you're able to roll calculated on it. If you're able to get a knee pad with a couple of yellows and calculated, then you have a match made in heaven. Now on to which specialist you should go with. So for the specialist, I have two suggestions. One is Demolitionist. The reason why is because this is going to give you access to the turret mod. If you don't have a better mod than the turret mod that Demolitionist gives you, then run the Demolitionist. If you do have a better mod than the one that the Demolitionist gives you, then I would recommend Sharpshooter to give you that plus 25 headshot additional damage when you're running the Sharpshooter specialist. So it's basically a personal preference. All the specialists work pretty well, just that these are the two that kind of have a more beneficial aspect to it if you're trying to get better attributes for headshots or for a skill mod. Now to answer a few questions that I think you might have. So how do you apply status effect with the energy and fusion talent with the gloves? The status effect is applied with anything that gives the status effect. What does that do? Anything like a grenade, which is a blinding grenade, a flash grenade, a burning grenade, that applies status effect. You could also use the firefly to apply the status effect. So basically anything that blows up and causes a status effect will apply to this one. Even blowing up barrels next to the enemy will apply the status effect, and that is how you proc the energy and fusion talent within the gloves. The other question that I think you might have is, Laser, why didn't you do the LMG if you're getting a plus 10 LMG damage with the PETROV? The reason I didn't go LMG is because spike is very important when it comes to this build, and we need to get headshots. So what this means is that we want to have as much accuracy as we possibly can with our weapon, and the best way to do that is to run an AR as opposed to an LMG. Now those are the questions I think you might have, but if you have any additional questions regarding this build, let me know in the comment section down below. If you have another suggestion of maybe changing the build that I have, also let me know in the comment section down below. What other build would you like to see for these gloves? Would you like to see a secret mine build, an explosive build? Let me know in the comment section down below. I do hope you guys did find this video helpful, informative. If you did, guys, I want to ask you guys for a huge favor. Drop a like in this video, share it with your friends, because that does help me out a lot. In addition to that, if you want to show more love and support, consider joining the Bold Nation. To join, it's super easy. All you have to do is click the link down below where it says Join Bold Nation, and you guys will join and unlock exclusive features only found on the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget WGATAP, and I will catch you guys on the next video.